We might be heading into a catastrophe in the near future that can cause Bitcoin to die. If you are an investor into Bitcoin and any other crypto for that matter, you need to be informed. For years, Bitcoin has ebb and flow along with the liquidity and sentiment. It follows the 4-year cycle and has experienced massive growth in price, user base, and technologies in recent years. It garnered political eye under Trump's presidency and has been growing in institutional adoption with big names like BlackRock and JP Morgan entering the game. Massive treasury companies like Sailor's Strategy sprung up, scooping up huge sums of coins in the name of hodling. Yet, beneath all that lie an aging system that is both difficult to change and starting to suffer from its scale. Bitcoin always had a 4-year event called the halving. This makes the amount of Bitcoin issued per block decrease to about half the amount without taking into account fees generated. This is a massive problem for miners as their revenue essentially drops by half in just one day. Now, usually this will cause less profitable miners to drop off, lowering the Bitcoin's difficulty, which means that slowly but surely miners' revenue recover to acceptable levels to justify an upgrade to their aging hardware. But since 2022, this script is starting to flip and it squeezes miners into a more and more concentrated operation. So, how does this affect you as an investor? Well, through this pressure, Bitcoin miners' distribution started to be concentrated into only several countries, making them susceptible by being controlled by the government. The geopolitical landscape today is so much different compared to 2021, and it all started by the war between Russia and Ukraine. It marked the first major territorial war between sovereign nations in the 21st century and sparked the conflict between the East and the West. Through this conflict, nation-states' distrust to each other rose dramatically, old alliances severed, and the one thing that destroys trust is the weaponization of the dollar. When Russia is taken off the SWIFT banking system and its assets seized, it is a wake-up call for non-aligned and non-Western states to scale down their balance sheets for Western bonds and start accumulating gold, including China. This shift meant that as it happened back then, during the Cold War, nation-states need to choose a side, the West, the East, or the non-aligned. Trade crossing this different faction is hampered with tariffs and sanctions, and all of that culminates in Trump's global tariff announcement. The world witnessed how the US is acting belligerent even to his own allies, and that causes even more geopolitical tension. Europe, India, and Brazil started to distancing themselves even more from the US. Trade routes became uncertain, costly, and businesses can't project their game plan for the future due to the political flip-flopping of the tariffs. Economies are starting to slow down by the fact that we are right now paying for the cost of massive money printing in the pandemic. All of this should be great for Bitcoin, right? Well, too well, I would say. Now, nation-states that are sanctioned and barred from SWIFT, like Russia and Iran, are mining Bitcoin and selling it to fund operation. With cheap power and the government's will, this farms doesn't make economical sense. They can run older, less efficient miners at massive scale and even mine at a loss, because their goal is not to generate profit but to convert their abundant oil and natural gas into cash without the need to sell cheaply or transport them elsewhere. This causes the normal difficulty cycle that drops after halving to not follow the same patterns that well. This meant that the miners will need to replace their gear constantly with newer and newer models to stay competitive. Add with rising electricity costs due to AI demands, increasing the cost of solar panels due to silver price explosion, and less than stellar bull markets, miners are dying in droves. Just check on crypto mining channels, they are dying and starting to scale back their operation. The economics just doesn't make sense anymore for them. This meant that the mining power Bitcoin relies on to provide security is being concentrated in a few places, such as publicly traded mining companies and government entities that both don't necessarily care that much about profit. Almost all publicly traded companies run in the US. The rest of the hash rate predominantly come from Asia in these sanctioned or cordoned off regions like Iran, Russia, and China. Now this is bad, since that means that Only a few actors can control what direction does Bitcoin go. One of the biggest dangers to Bitcoin that I don't see people talking enough is chips, specifically the mining equipment. Almost all of the current mining equipment capable of mining Bitcoin reasonably comes from China. Ant miners, Watts miners, Avalon miners, Ice River, Flu miners, all of this is made in China. The only notable other companies that are made outside China are probably Auradine and Proto-Rig from the US, but their scale is dwarfed by the giants in China. All publicly traded mining companies in the US use either Ant miners or Watts miners. Many home users use Avalon miners, and even the little lottery solo miners like BitAxe uses Ant miner chips. This meant that if China decided to stop supplying the miners to US companies for whatever reason, hash rate can easily be controlled by the Chinese government, effectively destroying Bitcoin's decentralization. This is a bigger problem than you might think. Without mining power, you cannot vote on proposal for Bitcoin improvement. As time goes on, Bitcoin will slowly but surely move into Chinese influence. Many believe that Bitcoin is decentralized, but lying underneath is a geopolitical dynamite that can explode at any time based on the Chinese government's whim. The backbone of Bitcoin, the home miners, are slowly eked out of the competition. The core values that everyone can mine Bitcoin is being challenged by tariffs and high machine costs. The mining equipment itself is concentrated in a country that can and will do major one-sided economical decisions in a day. All of this is challenges that Bitcoin needed to survive, not aided by the fact that a global recession is around the corner. To survive, Bitcoin must adapt. It must be flexible, it must innovate, and the last thing it has to be, that is, it has to be decentralized. One major hurdle for Bitcoin is the quantum weakness it has. Learn more in the video here where I explain how a quantum computer attacks Bitcoin and how to mitigate it. If you like this content, make sure to like the video, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.